Hello, and welcome to Unapologetically Wild with me, Kadi Sonntag. Season 2 is finally here, and I don't think anyone could be more excited than I am. This season is going to be bolder. It's going to be more empowering. We're going to really have some big conversations around things that we get to be supported in as women. This is going to be fierce. It's going to be wild. It's going to be the most unapologetic season there has been. And we were wild in season 1. So watch out. And the most exciting thing is I'm back and I've even got some giveaways coming at the end, which I am so excited about because you know how much I love this podcast. Like I get to be in your ears, no matter if you're drinking your coffee, you're driving, you're walking. I get to be with you on this journey that is called growth and life. And we get to share these incredible experiences and do this together, right? Which is how fucking wild is that? Like how incredible that this is our life, that we get to do this. And I have so many big topics and big things that have been on my heart and not doing this for a few months, having a break, it means that there's just so much that's coming through me that I would love to share with you. And honestly, the biggest thing for me right now, and as you know, I share as I'm sort of in the juice of something. And the biggest thing I want to talk about for 2026, right? So we've been shedding the snake, the skin of 2025, the year of the snake. And we're coming into the year of the fire horse, which is wild, right? So we're going to be moving fast, quick with all the fire. And this is how this podcast is going to be. And the reason I love this so much is because I get to connect with you, beautiful women, and support you and love you in being able to share what I learn and what I go through. And I feel so blessed to do that. Like it is a privilege to have your time. And today, I want to talk about something that's so deeply important to me and really close to my heart and really been a big part of my journey and another reason why I started this podcast. And it's about using your voice as a woman. I told you this was going to be juicy. So, this is a reason why I also started this podcast. I love to share, right? Like I love to speak. And that's not what I came from. I remember back when I was at school and I had to petition the teacher to ask if I could just do my speech in front of the teacher. And I would shake and I would cry. And I was literally the person who would not public speak. And now I flipped that to literally being booked for speaking events. And isn't that wild? Like, just think of the transformation that has to happen to go from being so scared that I couldn't even speak in front of my teacher for a school assignment to then standing and doing speaking events. I even did one at my old school in front of teachers who literally had seen me as that child and were now witnessing me in my incredible speaking ability. And a lot of that was also fostered through this podcast, right? Because let's be honest, when we do something like using our voice, you have to start scared. In everything in life, if it scares you, it is literally a call for courage. Because fear is just courage that hasn't been uncovered yet, that hasn't been taken, and it's showing you the way. And what I love the most about this is it has been the journey of my life. And I want to share some experiences because what I find is there are a lot of women out there who don't use their voice, right? And why I want to talk about this is I am guilty as fuck of not doing it. And I remember also when I was in my army career, I used to be that person who would not say anything. So I would be in a meeting and people would be giving their ideas and they'd be putting things forward and they're asking for all these pieces, right? And I would stay silent to the point where sometimes people would be like, Kadi, what do you think? And they'd be like, oh, at this point, I don't have anything. Now, I hid behind the fact that I felt like I needed to know everyone's opinion to then assess that, to then make my own informed decision. That is a way of hiding. And you know what the worst part about that is? There are so many times when someone would say the thing that I had been thinking and they would get the credit, right? What a great idea that was, Bob. You know what I mean? And I was like, I fucking thought of that. I've had that in my brain for literally 10 minutes. Do you think I put my hand up? No. And I used to tell myself it was because I had to listen to everyone, right? So I would say the right thing. So if I listened to everyone's contribution, if I spoke, no one would laugh at me because I would have assessed the situation and given a very, perfect outcome or result, or I would have not sounded stupid. And I don't know about you if you've ever had that feeling, but when you're a perfectionist and when you're someone who's the good girl, you don't speak unless it's fucking amazing, right? You don't say a word because if it doesn't sound good, or if you're going to be ridiculed for it, or if you say something and somebody is going to go against it, that's scary. Because then you either have to back yourself, which there's so many times when I did say something scared and I would get pommeled for it. Someone would come in with, I remember this one time, and I was a PT and brand new, I'm more in the space of holistic health, right? As you know, if you've ever listened or watched any of the stuff I do, I believe that health is holistic. I believe it's mind, body, and soul. And I'm against, or I shouldn't say against, there you go, that looks like we're fighting, but it almost would be like that because then you have these, scientific brains, which, I didn't quite understand because I didn't really love science. And they didn't get my holistic health view because they were like, well, it doesn't get explained in the science, right? So it's two sides of the coin, which really together would make a great view of health, right? But when they're against each other or when they're butting heads, not ideal. And I had this guy and I would say something and then he would just come at me, right? With all this jargon. And I had no idea what half of it meant, right? I'll be honest. And just hit me and hit me and hit me with everything I'd say. And then he'd go again and he'd be like, that doesn't work. And this doesn't work. And this doesn't work. And I just let it happen. I would just keep letting it happen to the point, I've got something. To the point where I would let it beat me down in my self-esteem so I wouldn't speak. And I did this so often. Or I would sit in a room and not speak. And then someone would ask me. And if I didn't think I had anything good to say, I wouldn't speak at all. And so this is a form of perfection. This is a form of the good girl, right? Because like I said, unless you have something amazing to say, unless you're not going to get beaten down for it, it actually is really scary to stand up and have a belief and have an opinion because there is that chance that somebody is going to disagree. And I'm going to be honest with you, 99% of the time, somebody will disagree. You could almost go as far as saying 100%, right? Because not everyone has the same thoughts. Not everyone has the same beliefs. Not everyone has the same opinions. That's the beautiful thing about humans. Because if we all thought the same, we would never have innovation. We would never see new things emerge. We would never have anything happen. Because we need to have different thoughts and opinions. And we can totally disagree with people and still be friends with them, right? We can have things where we're like, I don't agree with you, but we're still good. We can also decide to disagree and not be friends. There's all these different options, and there's going to be confrontation in that. And sometimes that's also quite scary, right? Because sometimes we see confrontation as this bad thing or means we're unsafe, or maybe there's a story there. And I was like that, right? If due to my childhood, if confrontation was happening, somebody wasn't safe. And, it was normal to have confrontation, but it was bad. It wasn't it was not a healthy sort of discussion, and we chat about it and then we both look at each other's perspectives. It's like, I'm right, you're wrong. That's the end of it. Or, I'm going to go at you with it until you believe what I believe, right? And so what happens is then we start to play this cycle out. And I also remember, I had a guy once be like, I just want to know what you're thinking. And he was just so frustrated with me. And I was also frustrated with me. He was almost literally mirroring, because, right, people mirror what you're doing on the inside. And it's like he was mirroring to me actually how frustrated and angry I was on the inside because I wasn't actually speaking my truth. And I didn't realize that at the time, right? Because I would be able to put myself into this numb feeling of I don't need to have an opinion. It's totally fine to sit and listen. And listening is a skill. Let's be real, active listening is a skill. Should not be, not acknowledged here. However, that is not when you want to speak, right? You do have a voice. And if you're not having a voice at all just because you're actively listening, that's not a thing, right? You can actively listen and still have a voice and say your opinion. And that's important too, because sometimes also, and I don't know if you've ever felt this, but I would listen to everyone's opinion around the room. And because maybe I had similar opinions or similar thoughts, it may not have been exactly the same, but I felt like they'd ticked off my thought, I just wouldn't say anything. And that's not right either, because let's be real, we all say things in different ways and it lands for different people. Some things I will say on this podcast will land for you, right? But maybe if it wouldn't land for somebody else, but they might hear it from someone else and it could be very similar, but using different wording, a different expression, different ways, but that that lands for me. And so here's the thing. You always should say exactly what you want to say, because if you're like me, it actually caused me great pain to hold on to all of this. And I didn't realize until it got so extreme that I was angry and I was frustrated and I was sad, and it all had to bubble up at once because I'd been suppressing it for so long and calling it oh, it's okay, I don't need to have an opinion. You're not Switzerland. Let's not talk about, people say, I'm on the fence, I'm this side, I'm this side. On the fence, maybe for one thing, but for everything in your life, that's not a fucking thing. You can listen to someone else's perspective, disagree with it, but still take it on board and acknowledge it. You can also listen to someone else's perspective and change your mind to their side, right? You can also listen to someone's perspective and be like, I'm happy with the way I think about things. You don't have to be in one belief for your whole life, right? That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is having an opinion and actually having your own beliefs and having your own thoughts and your own ideas and not just molding to the collective. And here's the thing. A lot of times we do this because we want to fit in, belong, all of these pieces. But do you know what it does? It actually means that we don't fit in with the right people. People that only like us because we comply or we agree with them, they're not our people. Our people are the people that are happy to have these conversations, that are happy to sit with you and disagree with you and be on two different sides. And the great friendships that I have where we have debates about things and we don't have the same opinions are actually so healthy because we listen and then we can still stay on our own side. Or if we think they've got a good idea, we can switch, right? That's totally normal and totally fine. But they are the people that allow you to feel comfortable to express your opinion without you feeling like it's not okay or it's not valid or you shouldn't have an opinion. This is the difference between friendships that are actually good for us and places where we comply. And this is the thing that really gets me about this is because when you speak up. You have this freedom. A lot of people talk about freedom, and as women, we get suppressed and told, like, don't be too much. Don't be too loud. Don't be too crazy, right? Like, yes, that is where we're put in society and we're told that all the time. But this is the change. Be too much. Be too loud. Be all these. Find the women out there who are doing that too. Because the more of us that get together and we are loud and we're too much and we are crazy and all the things, right? They can call us what they want. We then get to allow ourselves to be free and fully expressed. Whether you're in a workplace, whether you're in your own business, whether you're wherever you spend your time most of your day, whether you're a stay-at-home mom, whether, everyone has their own thing, right? But when you find the women that are fully expressed, they will allow you to be fully expressed and you will feel safe and comfortable in that space. And everyone is not going to fit you and you're not going to fit everyone. And that's why you are so amazing. And we have to stop listening to these people that keep trying to keep us small or that we shrink to be with, because they're not allowing you to be you. And take it from somebody who has done it for most of their life. It is not worth staying small. It is not worth the agony and the pain of just agreeing, because you might not notice it right now, but one day you'll wake up and be like, what the fuck was I doing? All this energy, all this, I don't know what you want to call it. I would call it anger, frustration, feeling confused without clarity. All of these pieces for you will come up and you'll be like, why? Why did I do this? Why did I allow myself to do this? And we're going to come at that with a bit of compassion, right? Because one of the biggest things for me was when I started to claim my space and speak up. And look, I'm still learning this skill even deeper, because there are still things that I'm not fully owning or fully stepping into. And this is why this podcast, I fucking love it, because I'm here to be your permission piece, because the deeper I step in, the deeper you do too, because that's why you're here, right? Otherwise you wouldn't be here. Otherwise you wouldn't be called to listen to my podcast. This transmission is for you too. And the coding is for you too. Your voice is important. Your energy is important. Your truth is important. You get to unapologetically use your voice. And so do I, right? I'm giving you that permission. And so what does that mean for you? That's going to be very different to what it means for me. For me, it's a business. It's stepping into this podcast. It's going out and speaking and having opinions, right? And people will disagree. They will not like me. People will unfollow you. People will, unsubscribe. Whatever you think the thing is. In your world, they might unfriend you, or maybe they won't talk to you, or maybe it'll be a bit tension at work. I don't know. But that is okay, because you know what? It'll actually put you in alignment with the people that you truly are meant to be with. And that is way more empowering and just like freeing. You want to talk about freedom? Speech, like literally being able to speak your mind is true freedom. And if you're like me, you can stop watching the people that have these ideas that were yours if you'd spoken up, get promoted, get, maybe that opportunity that you wanted to lead that event, to lead that thing. Maybe they get the chance on stage that you didn't get. Maybe they get to lead the project. Maybe they get to, get promoted before you do. Maybe, I don't know, whatever it is your thing is, right? But that fucking sucks, because you could have said that. And if you said it, maybe you'd be the one getting the promotion. And you know what? Even if you said it and didn't, at least you wouldn't feel that feeling, which, if you know what I'm talking about, it fucking sucks. When you didn't say the thing and you're like, fuck, what would have happened if I did? Because trust me, the people that say it, even if they, are the person that says all this random shit all the time, but they just kind of keep talking and eventually they like sling some mud and it works, they are going to get the opportunities that you want. And that sucks to hear because that was my career too. People I would watch and be like, they have less experience than I do. They have less knowledge than I do. They're not as good at it as I am. And that's not cocky because, let's be honest, you know how good you are at stuff. And you can bullshit yourself and say, and maybe I'm not as good. Bullshit. Maybe I'm not as qualified. Bullshit. Right? It's the same when we look at how women only apply for jobs at if they've got a full 100% or 90% of the qualifications, and guys will apply when they have 60%. Right? And it's like, if you want the thing, you have to use your voice. Like, this is our most powerful tool that we have in our whole arsenic, right? In every tool that you have, the most powerful tool is your voice. And you can choose to use it or not. But if you don't have an opinion, if you don't use your voice, if you don't say the thing, you're going to be sitting on the sidelines. And that sucks. That fucking sucks. You know that feeling. If you know what I'm talking about, you know that feeling. And you also know, I'm thinking back to this time, I remember I was on this promotion course and I was sitting in the back and they were doing this puzzle thing, they were figuring it out. And there's people saying all these things, right? They're throwing all this shit out and it's not working. And eventually they turn to me. I've been sitting there watching this all fail, right? And I say, I've actually said the thing, like nervous, shaky voice, because that's how it happens when you first do it. You're shaky and you're like, it may not sound good and you might think, fuck, I said 1,000 different words that don't make any sense, or I used a lot of joining words like and all this stuff. And you're like, oh my gosh, or like, and all these words, right? And you think, I could have been more articulate, it could have been said better. But you know what? When you say it with that shaky voice, like I did, I had the answer and we got it right. What if that happens instead? Even with all the extra talking, even with all the, maybe not perfect explanation, even with the shaky voice, even with it not sounding great, you will eventually, the more you do it, you will sound better. If you go back and listen to my first podcast, I am sure if you then came and listened to this one, you would be like, holy shit, it's so much better. Why? Because I kept doing it. Because I every week showed up and spoke and used my voice. Because I made a commitment to have an opinion and share it. You can like it or not like it. That's completely up to you. But I want to become a better speaker. So I chose to put my head first in my lives. You can go and watch my first lives. I bet you they're fantastic. But the thing is, when you choose to speak, it is going to sound different and not as good and all of these pieces, right? And I would love for you to go back and have a look and compare it to this episode because, one, I also tell my whole story in that first one. So it's actually one of the best podcasts you could listen to because you actually get to learn what I've lived to get here. And two, I would love for you to see how far I've come because, let's be honest, you're exactly the same. If you think back to a time when you were the little girl like me who literally would beg their mum to find a way so I could not speak, right? And get out of that assignment and then go in front of my teacher and be shaking and be crying and be trying to work it out and hiding under the desk and having like sweaty palms and just like fully, even when other people were speaking, it wasn't even my day to give my presentation. I'm sweating. And then you're the person who, like me, decided that someone told me I should be school captain. So I decided to go and do Toastmasters in year 11. My mum would drive me there. She would stop. I'd be like, holy fuck, I don't want to do this. And she'd be like, it's okay. You don't have to go. We can drive off and no one will know. And I was like, no, I am getting out of this car. I am going to walk into that room, scared shitless, shaking, sweating, and nothing has even happened. I just got out of the car and started walking and show up for myself because I want to improve this so I can be better, so I can grow, so I can eventually be paid to speak on stages. Now, I didn't know that at that time, obviously. And I still sweat in front of the school when I gave speeches as school captain. I was still nervous. I didn't look at the crowd that much, even though I tried. But then I gave a speech literally on Remembrance Day. I don't even know how long ago. How long ago was that? A few months? And teachers were crying because I gave this incredible speech that they decided to teach in one of the classes to the students because they thought it was that inspiring for leadership for the children. And they cried because they could see that I gave this incredible speech. I'm looking at everyone, and in this, I'm pausing. I'm not speaking so fast that they can't even hear me, and I'm sweating, and I'm like, oh my God, get me off the stage. Right? I'm being present in the fact that I have 100 kids in front of me that I get to share my wisdom with. And that's a gift. It makes me emotional. And I'm grateful that the children were inspired and told their teachers and were excited to learn about my speech and about how they could lead their own lives. And that's the gift. When you speak up, it's not always just about you. If you have kids, if your friends, your family, you break the lineage. You break the cycle of women not speaking. You are that cycle breaker. You are the black sheep. Let's be real. That's what we are, the black sheep. The people who don't belong, that are a bit different. Welcome. You found your space. You found your community. And we get to be that. You get to be all of you. That is the most important part of this life, is remembering who you are. Letting go of all the conditioning. Because let's be honest, you think about when you're a child and how free you were. You were just completely you. And then we grow up with all this conditioning of how we should be, right? Do this, say that, go there, listen to this person. And then, like me, you join the army where that's just even tenfold, right? So it just keeps allowing the good girl and the people pleaser to take over, because let's just keep that going in our life, that cycle. And then they throw you in the deep end and say, do something. And you're like, yeah, I don't know what to do. Mind blank. Brain freeze. I know that's from Ice Blocks, but still, same. And that doesn't help. It doesn't make you feel confident, because let's be honest, that also builds confidence when you put yourself in fear and courage, and you become more confident once you do the thing that scared you the most. Using your voice is the best place to start. It's free and so empowering. Now, I want to actually encourage you to reflect on this. And if you know, I'm doing a little giveaway this season, which is so exciting. And I'll tell you a little about that in a sec. But these are the reflection questions that I would love for you to put in the comments once you reflect, or anything that was a takeaway from this episode. But I thought I would give you some questions to also answer if you feel called. Now, you don't have to share these. You can just do these in your own time. But I would love if you want to share them. You can privately DM them to me. I would love that. I love engagement on here. So anything would be amazing. And I love to hear about what resonated for you. So here's the question. Where in your life are you not showing up in your voice? Where in your life are you not showing up in your voice? Allow that to land and pause it, or I'm going to give you the next one. Just 2 today. Next question. What's holding you back from saying the things that you really want to say? What's holding you back from saying the things you really want to say? Allow yourself to sit with these. Now, you may get answers straight away. You may need time to reflect on this and give yourself the freedom to do that and the time and space. Okay? And now I'm going to tell you about the giveaway. Now, this is very, very exciting. I will be doing a giveaway for this beautiful podcast. So there are 3 prizes. I'm going to announce prize 1